Alrighty, hi guys, this is Chris with Base Step Productions. I'm here with another Photoshop tutorial for you guys today. Today we're going to be covering how to basically set your levels using the pixel data that's already included in the image, so we don't kind of have to fidget things by hand. It'll allow for a more precise way of setting the levels so you don't clip the blacks or clip the whites. We'll also be going into how to find the 50% gray, or basically color balance, white balance, if you will, just off the pixel data alone. No fidgeting with it, no eyeballing it, and hopefully we'll get into mid-tone contrast, sharpening as well, without blowing things up. Hopefully it's not going to be too complicated today. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing I did was opened up my image, obviously. This is my cat. Hope you like her. Just to let you know, I did play with the image ahead of time to kind of simulate what you might run into when you take pictures if things aren't properly exposed, not enough contrast. So we're going to go ahead and try and fix those using this technique today. So I opened up the image. I double-clicked the backgrounds. You'll get a dialog there for the layer. Just select OK. This basically just unlocks the background to enable it to be edited. I'm not going to be doing anything directly to the image. I just force a habit, get used to it. So I always use adjustment layers whenever I do any kind of my enhancements, adjustments. This is because this way I can just, if I mess up anything or need to come back and change one of the settings I did in one of the adjustments, it's far easier than having to go through all the history after using these options over here. So we're going to go ahead and use adjustment layers today. It's just a good habit to just start using them. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use threshold. That one probably adjustment that you never thought you were going to use because it's just way too extreme, unless you're into like that whole poster art. I don't even know what to call it. Xerox style. Anyways, basically what this does, obviously, as you can tell, is you move around the histogram here, and whatever's below your point is going to be ultimately black, and whatever's above is going to be completely white. But we're going to use this to basically get our blacks and get our whites. I'm going to show you here how to sample that information. So the first thing you're going to want to do is let's find the blacks. So we're going to drag this all the way down, and then slowly start moving it up until you start seeing blips of black here. You can see I have one showing up right here. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and, just for this tutorial's sake, I'm going to make this blob a little bit bigger, but when you do it, you're going to want to get down to the pixel. I mean, the more accurate, the better. So I'm zooming in here, and you can see my little blob of black. So now I'm going to go over to this toolbar and hold down the mouse button over this eyedropper, and you'll be greeted with all these other options of lovely tools. I'm going to use the color sampler tool, and basically what this does is you can select a point on the image and it'll save a marker at that exact pixel location. This is useful for exactly this, when you know there's a color behind this that you want, but need to save it for later. So there we go. I got number 1. Just remember that's my black level. Go ahead and zoom back out here. I'm using Control Z or Control 0, by the way, to fit that back into the window. It's also good to know your key commands. So now I'm going to do the white one. Go ahead and get a nice blob here that we can see. Seems the force is strong in this one. So let's go ahead and use our color sampler again. Just set a point, number 2. There we are. Bring this back out. So now we have our white and our black. Let's go ahead and turn this threshold off so we can see the image. Our nice drops. Now we're going to go back to adjustment layer, do levels. And instead of fidgeting with these by hand, trying to figure out what's going to be blown in and what's not, we're going to go ahead and use that data we saved. So over here on the left is our eyedroppers. That will basically sample our image and set the blacks to whatever pixel you set it to. So go ahead and click this black eyedropper. Click that first one we got. Boom. Select the white one. Get that second one we got. And once again, when you do this yourself, go ahead and be a little bit more accurate with it, especially if fill grain or if you get like lots of changing textures in there. You're definitely going to want to be as accurate as possible. But there's our first step. You can go ahead and anytime you want to, go to the eyedropper, press clear to get rid of those so they're not in your way. So before, after, contrast is already in there. Look at that. Now let's go ahead and get ourselves our grays, our 50% grays. So first thing, select the background layer, click new, so it pops up right above it. Then we're going to go to edit, fill, do 50% gray, which under this drop down you're going to get foreground. It's usually going to be on foreground or background. Make sure you change that to 50% gray, and that's going to build a layer with exactly 50% gray. Next, go over to your blend modes over here. Select difference. It's going to look a little funky at first, but trust me, there's a purpose to this. Basically, we're using the 50% gray to find the difference on the actual image to basically as a math formula to find us whatever point is the most gray. So go ahead and go back to your threshold, turn it back on like I just did, and move the slider all the way down, and we're going to want to find the blacks in here. This is probably the one point where you want to be the most accurate, because this first bit of pixels here is going to make the difference. This is like life or death here. But obviously for this tutorial, I'm going to pick something that's got a little bit more meat to it, so you can see. I trust that'll work. Go ahead and go back out. When you do this, leave it zoomed in. I'm just doing this so we can see the change over time here. Next, go back into your levels, turn that on. I turned the threshold and the gray layer off. Go ahead and turn this back on just like we were. Select your gray dropper this time, and go ahead and select that point that we got. And there it is, color balanced. Grays are set. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole effects part of mastering this image. That's for another tutorial. But let's go ahead and get into, since that's done, levels are set. This is before. Got a bit of a red tint. There's no blacks, no pure whites. And now we have blacks, we have whites, we have neutral colors in there. It's looking nice. All right, let's get into mid-tone contrast, grays, sharpening. Go ahead and select your background layer, and duplicate layer is our first. I don't care about the name. Then go to filters, convert for smart filters, and this isn't going to make sense right now, but I'll show you why that's a very important thing to do. Next, go to other, high pass, the most misunderstood filter in the arsenal, because it just does weird things to your image. Alright, that's going to render too slow. Okay, so start out, drop your radius all the way down to 0. Slowly pull this up until you start seeing all that sharp details that you want. Usually right about there is fine, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to show you the incorrect way first and how to fix it. So look at that. Got color and halos. That looks nice. Alrighty, now that we have that, go ahead and go to your blend mode for this one and just select overlay. Oh, look at that. Super sharp. Now, some people might like it like that, I guess kind of fake HDR look, but I don't. And since I totally messed up that filter, instead of going through undo, redo it, all that, we set it as a smart filter, which means our settings are saved for the filter. So we can go ahead and go to high pass right here, double click on that, and it'll bring the dialog right back up. And now, since our layer is already set to overlay and all, we can play around with this and see our outcome as it's live. Now, I don't want any halos like that, so sharpen. I'm mainly looking here in the whiskers. Try and get this. I shot this, I believe, with my 50mm prime, so its depth of field is very, very shallow. But there you have it. This is before, after, before, after, before both of them, after both. Looks pretty nice, huh? Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining me. Check in anytime, see if there's any new tutorials. I'll be doing more as we go.